Let's move on now to Kev's Fave 5 for the week. And I'm going to get away from State of Origin. I've done Fave 5s about Origin the last couple of weeks. So this week, I'm going to put Origin on the shelf for a little bit. And I'm going to focus on my Fave 5 rookie seasons in celebration of Ash Taylor, who I think has just gone from strength to strength all year and is an absolute shoo-in to take out Rookie of the Year this year. So the video, if you're watching this one on YouTube or on the Facebook page, it's going to be a little bit more generic than past ones when I'm showing specific incidents. It'll be more highlights of those guys in their younger years, as much rookie year footage as I can find, but for some of them it's not exactly always from the rookie year. So bear that in mind, take it with a grain of salt, so it'll be a little bit more generic. Let's get to it. Number 5, Billy the Kid, Billy Slater in 2003. He's a respected veteran, arguably the game's greatest fullback now, but back then in 2003, he was a small, baby-faced former jockey from Innisfail. Billy Slater, he came in, he made an immediate impact. He scored 19 tries, which was an NRL record at the time for someone in their rookie season. He instantly became one of the most popular, players in the game, one of Rugby League's favourite sons. He was scoring long-range tries, he was setting them up, he was showing all sorts of skill, the speed, and the tenacity, all that stuff that he would further develop in the years to go on to make him an all-time great. But Billy Slater came straight on the scene, 19 tries in his rookie year, an NRL record at the time. All the skills were there. Billy the Kid Slater goes on to be one of the all-time greats, and it all started in 2003.
And he still looks exactly the same.
Pretty much does, just different haircut.
Doesn't play that much different either, frankly, to be honest, when he does get on the field. But yeah, a fantastic rookie season, and it's only gotten better from there, funnily enough.
Billy the Kid, of course, Dally M, 3 grand finals, golden boot, everything. So, and he could have been a jockey as well, so a guy with many talents, and everyone's going to not forget that try from Origin, as you mentioned, mate.
Number 4, another man who's made appearances on recent top 5 videos, Jared Hayne in 2007. 2006, I should say. I've got the wrong heading there. But 2006, Jared Hayne, he's one of those schoolboy prodigies coming through. Everyone had huge raps on this guy. He didn't get his shot until round 11 in 2006. That's because Brian Smith, he just quit as head coach, and Jason Taylor, the much maligned figure these days, he'd taken over as caretaker. And one of his first orders of business was giving Jared Hayne his crack in first grade. The rare blend of size, speed, skill that very few others have, strength as well in there. Jared Hayne, he took to the top grade very, very quickly. He scored 17 tries in 16 appearances in 2006. The highlight came in a 46-12 win over Newcastle, where the 18-year-old Hayne scored 4 tries, as mentioned by Tommy in a previous episode of the show. He went on to win Dally M Rookie of the Year. He made the Kangaroo squad. He didn't debut in that squad, but he was there. He did, of course, debut in State of Origin the following year, and for Australia also in 2007. One of the most talented players to emerge in probably the last 10 to 15 years. Jared Hayne, he took to it straight away.
It's crazy to think that Hayne debuted in 2006 and he's still only 27
Crazy.
or 28. It's just, these guys have been around for such a long time, and I think when he really fixed his attitude and when he really kind of put his everything into his game, won the Dally M twice. So I think that if he comes back to league, which it's looking like he might, it'll be a great thing.
And word has it he's he's putting a bid in to compete at UFC 200.
Is he going to fight Brock Lesnar?
Oh, well, if Mark Hunt's injured, yeah, surely.
He'll step in. Number 3, Alex Johnston, 2014. On the top 3 now, and the reason I went for these top 3 ahead of those previous 2 have gone on to be all-time great sort of guys. These 3 all won premierships, so that sort of gives them the edge over those previous rookies. So before anyone comes screaming at me, how can you put so-and-so ahead of Jared Hayne or ahead of Billy Slater?
So
because these guys are premiership winners, and they also broke records along the way.
So we're not counting Slater's 3 premierships because they got
Not
stripped.
So you didn't win it in 2003, though. That's what I mean,
They
in
won
the
it in
rookie
their debut
year.
year.
Gotcha.
Rookie year. So 2014, Alex Johnston. So he sort of came out of nowhere, this guy. He was only 19 years old when he was selected to make his debut. This was in round 8 when he replaced Nathan Merritt, who was dropped. So the all-time try-scoring leader at the South was dropped for this 19-year-old kid, and it was a bit like, what the hell's going on here? But didn't he repay the faith quickly? He went on to score 21 tries that season, which was equaling the record for an NRL rookie. We'll talk about who broke that record later on. But he was fantastic all season, didn't put a foot wrong, scored a try in the grand final, that 30-6 win over the Bulldogs. He was selected in the Kangaroo squad at the end of the year, just like Jared Hayne was. He didn't get a run in the Four Nations. He did get his Australian jersey the following year. He hasn't really sustained that form in the last couple of years since then, but 2014, scoring 21 tries in a premiership-winning South Sydney team who hadn't won a premiership in 41 years or whatever it was. An unbelievable performance from a teenager.
Yeah, it looked like for a while their strategy for a couple of games was just flick it out wide to Johnson, he'll do the rest. And he's regressed a little bit. You know, he hasn't quite hit those heights again the last couple of years, but I mean, he's still a talent. He's only 21 now. Yeah. He's one of the quickest guys on the field when he's on there, so it was a massive year for him.
And still an incredible strike rate, almost 1 try per game, so hopefully he gets back to his best. He's going to develop. He's 21.
Absolutely. And the top two, this was a bit of a toss-up, but number 2 is Daly Cherry Evans from 2011. At 22, Cherry Evans was a bit older than these other guys on the list, and probably that helped him, but he achieved more than almost all of them. It's hard to come in and make an impact as a rookie, especially when you get thrown into halfback in a premiership-winning level. It's nearly unheard of. In fact, he was the first rookie halfback to win a premiership since Steve Slippery Morris back in 1979, so there's the stat for today. He replaced Trent Hodkinson. He moved on to the Bulldogs at the time. DCE came straight into the starting side, and it was it's as if he'd been there for 10 years. He had that much poise. It was that seamless. His running game was great. He steered him around the park. His kicking game was great. He played every single game of 2011. He scored a try in the grand final. He had 19 try assists for the season. He got picked for Australia in his debut season, named it Halfback of the Year by the Rugby League International Federation. You can say what you want about Daly Cherry Evans now, but when he burst on the scene in 2011, he was the best young halfback to emerge in a first year, possibly that we've ever seen. It was an unbelievable season from an unbelievable talent. Yeah,
just looked, everything he touched just seemed to turn to gold. Had a running game, had a passing game, had a kicking game, had the halves pairing of a young guy as well. So it was a massive year for him. And like you said, say what you will about him, his form's probably dipped a bit now. But in the first that year, and even in the next couple of years, he was arguably the form half of the competition every year. So it was a massive start for him.
And you wonder why? I guess a lot of people wonder why $10 million contract over whatever it is, 5, 6, 7 years long term. And again, Daly Cherry Evans, not only a champion, but he looks like Ken from Barbie and Ken.
And number 1, Israel Folau in 2007. I tell you what, of all the players lost to rugby league over the last 15 years or so, I truly believe none were a bigger loss than Israel Folau. Had he stayed in rugby league, I think there's every chance he gets remembered as one of, if not the greatest outside back that's played rugby league. You look at what he did in the short time that he was here and the age that he did it, it's incredible. He debuted in round 1, 2007 for Melbourne as a 17-year-old against the Tigers. He, of course, scored the match-winning try because it's Israel Folau. He would then go on to score doubles in his next 3 straight games, and he played the entire season. He scored 21 tries in that year, breaking Billy Slater's previous record, so it's still the record for tries by a rookie in a debut season. He was selected for the Kangaroos at the end of the year. He played in the grand final for the Storm in that win over Manly. When he was selected for the Kangaroos, he became the youngest guy in history that the Kangaroos have selected. It's since been beaten by Sione Matausia, but at the time he was the youngest guy ever. But it wasn't a shock when he got picked. It was expected because he was the best winger in the game at the time. And that's the difference, I think, between him and these other guys there, is that the other guys was like, oh, they're going great for a rookie. No, he was just great. He was great straight away. And by the time he left rugby league as a 21-year-old, he was already being hailed as an all-time great. You look at what he'd already done. He'd already scored 73 tries in 4 years in the competition as a 21-year-old. A lot of guys haven't even made their debut yet, and he's already scored 73 tries. It's a real shame. He went on to the AFL, so, some mixed success. He did play in the AFL, not with a whole deal of success, but then he went to rugby union. He's now the all-time leading try scorer for the Waratahs and a fixture of the Wallabies. I can't imagine him ever coming back now, but it's a damn shame because you look at what he'd already thrown up in the 4 seasons that he was in rugby league, from a 17-year-old through to a 21-year-old. Israel Folau was absolutely incredible, and he had, in my opinion, the best debut year of anybody.
Israel Folau has played every Australian code that is played in winter. Union, AFL and League. And
the big three.
The big thing about him as well, he's the marquee guy for the Wallabies. He's the marquee rugby union player in Australia for someone who's only been in that side for 2-3 years. It's incredible the lengths he's gone.
Nothing makes me sadder than losing Izzy Folau. He's the one that for me really just makes me sad every time, because there was a chance he was going to come back to the Eels, and some paperwork, all that kind of stuff. It kind of mucked it up, and he went over to the rugby union. So that was pretty sad. Yeah, look, if you're out there listening just to the video or the kind of breakout kind of on Facebook or YouTube, we release every Thursdays. We're the Back Three Podcast on SoundCloud, on iTunes. Back Three NRL on Twitter and Facebook. The Back Three Podcast at outlook.com if you want to send us a tweet or a message or a follow or a message or a like or anything, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the Fave 5 for this week. I'm going to call an audible here on the show, boys. We talked about doing our report.